The Selfish Podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land and waters that this podcast is recorded on.
Everything that we discuss on the Selfish Podcast with Chloe and Steph is for informational purposes only. It's either our own experiences, opinions and insights or our guests. It's not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied upon as health or personal advice. It's time to prioritise yourself and your well-being. Subscribe now and get ready to put yourself first with the Selfish Podcast.
Hey beautiful people, welcome back to the next episode of the Selfish Podcast with Chloe and Steph. It feels like a hot minute since we've been sitting here.
Yeah, it does. It does, and it has been. I mean, we did a bit of pre-recording.
We did.
Didn't we? Because I was away and then it was Easter and yeah.
Yeah, so today's been great.
Today has been great. We've really gotten into it. We've done a few interview recordings that we'll be releasing over the next month or so, and
yeah, they were amazing chats.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get them out.
Super cool chats, yeah. So how have you been? What's been happening?
Look, I've been pretty erratic and scattered.
Is it the Mercury? Is it the retrograde? Is it the eclipse? Or is it just Chloe?
I think it's a bit of everything, actually, but I think I am putting it down to a little bit of the eclipse season, which when this drops, we would have just come out of the portal between the full moon and then the new moon eclipses. So, yeah, I think at this time of recording, we've kind of still got a few days, and I've just yesterday, I was like, someone asked me how I was, and I was like, I've been so scatty today. I don't even know what I achieved, and it doesn't matter if I didn't achieve anything, but it was just like a moment of kind of going like, oh yeah, my energy is a bit all over the place, and which is very normal. Yeah, and very normal for eclipses. Yep. So if anyone, shout out to anyone out there who's been feeling a little bit all over the place, maybe highly emotional or just feeling a bit like ungrounded.
And as you said, we ground. Grounding.
It's all about grounding. I don't need that reminder myself.
The lawn.
To go.
The bath.
Lay on the lawn.
The shower.
Thank you.
The sun.
Yeah. I wish you were around me yesterday to go, Chloe, so have you done any of those things?
Well, I think you do this great exercise with me that you've sent to me before, and so maybe we can just share it with everyone on the pod. Or even if you want to take the one where you like cross your legs and then like you cross your arms and you hold your ear and then you breathe and you, yes.
So you 2 fingers peace sign under your nose and then clasp the back of your neck, and then you take a few deep breaths in that position. Are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And then you swap your hands over, so cross your hands over and grab either earlobe as well and breathe in that pose for a few breaths. And then you want to cross, I think I'm going to get the wrong hands, the left wrist over the right wrist, and then the opposite for the ankles.
Yeah, that feels right.
And then the right over the left for the ankles, and sit there and breathe for a few breaths. And this is a beautiful practice to ground yourself back down and anchor into the energy. So
I feel good after that.
Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't do it properly because I was kind of talking
you were like,
through
what are the things? But, that was that was nice. Thanks for that.
And I had to think about it. But yeah, that was from my beautiful energy coach in the States. She is magnificent. And yeah, I might even drop her in the show notes.
Yes, please do. Yeah. And so
Frankie is her name.
Frankie, I love that name.
Me too.
So why do we breathe through our nose and then out of our mouth?
Good question. Is it something to do with the nervous system?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I don't know. I've also had a lot of I've had a lot of ads recently on Instagram targeting me to get this thing which closes your mouth while you're sleeping, so you sleep through your nose.
Yeah, because so you breathe through your nose. We are typically meant to breathe through our noses, because in our nose are all those little like fine hair follicles that filter the air that we breathe. When you breathe a mouth breather. Have I spoken about that?
We've talked about mouth breathing,
okay. Mouth breather doesn't have those little follicles, and then you can build up a bacteria at the back of your mouth, tonsillitis.
Yeah, I think I'm going to buy some and just see what happens.
Do you think you're a mouth breather?
Well, so I can't remember when the episode dropped, but I think maybe it was a few weeks ago, we were talking about the eclipse. And I was sort of saying, I was almost teasing the eclipse. Like saying I'm not affected by it because you were asking me how's my energy level. I'm like, it's great.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. I was almost teasing the eclipse. So then that week I learned my lesson.
I reckon that afternoon even you were like, yeah, fuck this eclipse.
Yeah, exactly. So Hugh and I went to Sydney for the weekend.
Yes.
To catch up with family, and then I stayed on for 2 days of work.
Oh, yes.
So for those 2 days I've booked in heaps of meetings and catching up with all these stakeholders I'd not seen for a while, and a colleague was also coming with me, which was excellent, especially in hindsight. But so we get to the airport. We're all ready to go. Like, it's a bit of a trek to get us all organised, and then we've got to drive, obviously, an extra hour and a half to get to the airport from where we live. Got to the airport, plane's not working. Like, so that whole flight was cancelled.
Yeah, Mercury retrograde.
Yep, then we get put on another flight, and that gets delayed. So our 5:30 flight ends up being like an 8 p.m. flight, and then we don't get into Sydney till 11, and then the taxi took another half an hour to get there because we wanted one with a car seat. You know, all of this kind of stuff. And so anyway, I was like a nightmare. I've been teasing the eclipse and the retrograde, and then this is what happens to me. And then I lost my voice. I had laryngitis. So I'm like, what is the universe telling me? Lost my voice completely. So, and the last time I actually looked it up, the last time I lost my voice was in June last year. And so I did look to see, was it around the same moon cycle? Was it around the eclipse, or was there a retrograde? There was nothing happening astrological last June around the time of my voice loss. But for this one, I was like, what is the universe trying to tell me? You know, am I talking too much? Am I not listening enough? What is it? And the conclusion I've come to,
great, tell us,
is that the only way my body knows how to shut me up and slow me down is to take away my voice, because I will push through anything else. And so I had to really surrender, and I ended up not going to any meetings at all on the Monday. And like, the reason I'm in Sydney is
to go to meetings, to
go to these meetings, right? It's paid for by my work. So I'm also feeling this like obligation. Also, I haven't seen these people in person for years. So, but I said no. So my colleague took all of the meetings. And, you know, that was hard for me to also let go of that. But then I laid in the hotel room all day and just like really rested and surrendered. And then I did go to work on the Tuesday, and my voice was good enough.
Marginally
and then,
better.
but then the Wednesday, I took the Wednesday off and rested again. So it was really just, you know, I've gotten better at listening to that and listening to my body, and I've probably got a way to go. Maybe I shouldn't have worked on the Tuesday, you know, but I've come away. I've come away.
Is like, were there any signs? Could you like reflect back over that time? Was there anything like that was potentially like a warning sign before you got sick?
On the Saturday and Sunday, I lost my voice entirely on the Monday, but on the Saturday and Sunday I could feel that something was happening. Yeah. But also I've been travelling a lot, and just like, you know, work's been pretty intense, and life has been intense, and this last weekend was the first weekend we've had at home for 5 weeks.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's so,
you know, so it's been a lot of stuff.
So recognising that you need to put in some rest times, weekends,
and especially around
home.
that Feb time, you know,
that's
that
right.
Feb time. So I think I think it's not a surprise, but I was happier with how I've responded to it.
You allowed the rest.
Allowing the rest.
Yep. Wow. I think that's fascinating. I love the body.
Yeah, me too. And then this eclipse has just real got me. So I'm not teasing the eclipse or retrograde ever again.
It's a real. It's real.
It's real. It's
so
real.
on this, maybe I'll just go into.
Oh yeah, sure.
I may as well just say.
Yeah, like
so
do our
we've
Astra now.
had the new moon on the 8th of April, and so there was a solar eclipse. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. In Aries. This is like a really positive reset. It can feel like deeply emotional, but like a rejuvenation.
That's why I got black nails as well, because I was so emo the other day.
I went with green. Renewal. I don't know.
Oh, you're the renewal.
But also just that new moon was like shedding of old skin. So hopefully everyone in the like completion of Aries season starts to feel a bit more energy and that upward kind of motion of movement.
For sure,
makes sense what just came out of my mouth. Anyway, onwards and upwards.
And someone, one of the beautiful people that you recommended I follow on Instagram also mentioned about like the the connection between the eclipse that we've just had and the eclipse that was in August 2017. And so they said, have a think about what was happening in your life, because it's almost like it was the same kind of eclipse. I think they're both solar eclipses. Totally.
Or they were on the same, was it an Aries and maybe it was on the same axis?
No, different axis.
Oh, it was different axis.
Different
axis. I wonder what
I think it was because of the solar, it was a total solar eclipse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was the type of eclipse. So they were saying what happened back then, because it could then be echoing in your life.
Themes.
Yeah.
They often talk
so think
about.
back to August 2017.
And eclipses always bring, like often if you look back on eclipses throughout your life, you'll notice that there are big changes, like big endings or new beginnings.
Well, also I've had 2 friends who have had babies born in this eclipse.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
So I wonder what kind of characters they're going to be.
Aries characters.
Yeah.
Great.
Excellent.
Going first. The ones that go first. Beautiful. All right, let's go to we've got Super Attractor. Bloody love Gabby Bernstein. Always follow along.
We
her
love
little
Gabby.
chats. I've got a really great walking meditation of hers that I've had for like many years, and it's just like the best. I love walking.
You love it.
Meditation.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Super Attractor.
Okay.
What are we attracting?
We're
this
attracting
end of eclipse season.
I like to have all of them. I want that one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay, the more I attune my energy with appreciation, the more the universe will deliver. Do you like that one?
I like that one.
Yeah.
The more that we appreciate, the more that we will receive, I think, is kind of another way of
thinking it. So what's the difference between appreciation and gratitude?
Ooh.
Or are they like the same thing? Appreciate is to like be appreciative.
Yeah.
And gratitude is like thankful, like grateful, thankful.
I wonder what the... Yeah.
Get the Google out.
Okay.
Well, I would, but my phone's recording.
Okay. Meaning of appreciation.
So maybe appreciate is that I appreciate you. Like you're appreciating something.
Yeah. Great question, but it just like for me to answer this off the top of my head.
Well, no, just like if you had any thoughts.
Okay. Oxford Dictionary Online defines gratitude as the quality of being thankful, which she said, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. On the other hand, appreciation is defined as the recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something.
Okay.
Fundamentally, then, when we see gratitude as a more general internal state of being, while appreciation tends to represent the more practical ways we choose to express that gratitude through our thoughts, our attitudes, and our external words and actions. Lovely question, Steph. We've just learned something.
We've just learned something there, haven't
Beautiful.
we?
So the more I attune my energy with appreciation, the more the universe will deliver.
Awesome. And we are very appreciative of our guest today.
We are.
Kasey Willson.
Yes.
Now, Chloe, you recently appeared on her podcast.
I did. Back to the Paddock.
Probably
a month or so
ago. And you were talking about speech pathology.
Yeah, we had a chat about like speech and business and all the things.
Yeah.
So Kasey Willson is a naturopath and nutritionist with over 15 years experience working with women to feel nourished and balanced in preparation for and throughout motherhood. Kasey has a special passion to help women lose stubborn belly fat and rebalance their hormones using specialised testing, nutrition, and herbal medicine and powerful lifestyle hacks.
Amazing. And we've got all of Kasey's info in the show notes, and it was a really great chat about, we covered hormones, we covered cortisol, we covered, inflammation,
tips on, morning tips and tricks.
All sorts of stuff.
So many great nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah. We hope you enjoy.
Today we've got a beautiful guest joining us, Kasey. Kasey is a naturopath and a nutritionist, and we're so thrilled to have you having a chat with us today on the Selfish podcast. Welcome, Kasey.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to be here and I love being on the other side of the mic. So it's a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us. And
Hmm.
we thought we'd start off by obviously we've covered your bio and things like that, but are there any other surprises that you'd love to share with our beautiful community?
I guess to start with, my favorite role of all is being a mama. So I'm a mum of two girls. So I've got Elkie and Amelia. They're 2 and 5. So they keep me on my
Beautiful.
toes. My youngest particularly is very cheeky. But we, as a family, we moved from the city to the country,
Mhm.
and just over a year ago now. So we're back to the country because we're both from farms, and yeah, we're just really loving the farm life here, and just feel really grounded now. So yeah, that's what we love to do is be here on this land, and I love being in the garden barefoot, and of course, and the grass and the dirt, and yeah, that's sort of my little hobby. But as a naturopath and nutritionist, that's been me for 15 years now. So I've done a little bit of in clinic in Adelaide and with a
Mhm.
chiropractor, and now I'm mostly online,
Mm,
and really over the years I've just developed this real passion for hormone health, and I
mm,
written books on the topic, and run programs and love speaking about it. But it's just my real passion because I feel like there's so many women that are affected by
Mm.
hormone imbalance. And when you say hormone imbalance, like it's a huge topic. Like there's
mm,
obviously hormones within hormones, and the real guts of it now that I like to focus on is helping the stress response, because that impacts everything in our body. So yeah, that's what I've
Mm.
come back to today, and yeah, what I'm loving to shout from the rooftops.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Kasey, before we dive into that stress response piece, and I think
Mm,
that is just something that's so important for us to
yes.
understand and work out how we can better support ourselves in that space. But how did you get into
Mm.
naturopathy and
Yeah.
nutrition?
Yeah, good question. So I was in year 12 at school, and actually it probably started in year 11 more so. I was going through a very much a party girl stage. So binge drinking on the oral contraceptive pill, just like, binge eating, not looking after my body. And
Mm.
I developed a very chronic candida overgrowth. So I'd be at school and I'd have chronic thrush and just be, in a lot of discomfort. And so
Mm.
I was, I'd done all the things. I'd gone to the GP and they'd only offered, medications, and obviously being on the pill, that doesn't help the whole situation and all the
Mm,
things that I was doing to my body. But yeah, basically we were in a class and we were being encouraged to look at what we wanted to do after school. And for some reason, I don't know how I came across it, but I came across a naturopath, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I
Mm.
then started looking into naturopathy and nutrition and started applying a few little things into my life, and it really sparked an interest, and it started to help me. And then I went on to study. So
mm,
yeah, it just really went from there. And it took a little while for me to clean up my party girl stage, because I was still in my early 20s when I started, when I finished actually
Yeah.
becoming, finished studying to become a
mm,
naturopath. So
Yep.
it took a little while, but yeah, I certainly went through it all myself. And yeah, then I started to attract a lot of the hormone stuff in clinic initially, and that's when I really started getting good results, and it just flew on from there. So
Yeah. And as someone
amazing.
who's I've only just recently seen a naturopath, so it's not something that was part of my life growing up.
mm,
What, for those people who have not seen a naturopath or are not familiar with what that is, could you explain that
Mm.
to
yeah.
the me
Listeners,
2 years ago when
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
I don't know, I don't
likewise.
understand what this is. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, well, basically within us all, we have this innate healing power. And so as a naturopath, there are naturopaths and naturopaths who work differently, but,
Mm.
the underlying focus is to allow your body to heal itself. So
Uh-huh.
give the things that you need. And for you, it may be something completely different to, say, Chloe. But we try to detect what the underlying issues are, whether it's an imbalance or a deficiency state or toxicity, and help the body to heal itself through giving natural medicine. Sometimes it's herbs, sometimes it's nutritional medicine like vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, essential fats, and maybe there's certain nutritional protocols depending on the particular naturopath. So personally, I've done nutrition training as well, and yeah, we just allow the body to do its thing.
Yeah, okay. And that can be done, you can see a naturopath in conjunction with
Absolutely.
other
Yeah, it's
health professionals.
complementary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complementary. So I think we work really well complementing other therapies. And yeah, I think that's the key, is we're not just saying, this is the be all end all, like it works in together with everything else. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank
I
you.
love hearing it explained like that. It just makes so much sense. I think that knowing that if we get a cut on our leg, our body heals itself, right? So, we have this ability, like, let's use it, and that's the same goes for like our internal systems, I guess,
Absolutely.
and our hormones, which I can't wait to hear more about. Yeah.
It's sort of just fast tracking, I guess, that healing, because we all will heal given the right things. So it's, fast tracking that by working out what you do need. And like I said, every naturopath works differently, like with certain testing. But I like to do scientific testing alongside just to really work out what's happening. But it's using that information and then giving the body what it needs. Yeah.
I love that. So we'd love to know how we can support ourselves to have those humming hormones and more energy and like stabilized moods. I think as women, we can go a bit up and down with our cycle, which is totally normal. But you've spoken about cortisol and when it can become imbalanced and how that impacts our health. Could you share more on this with us?
Yeah. And the reason why I love to begin with cortisol is because all of the hormones are so connected, like they're interconnected, but it starts in the brain. And so the brain controls that production of cortisol. It's produced by the adrenal glands, which are these two little glands just above your kidneys. But it's the brain that tells your adrenals to produce that cortisol. So we probably all are aware of cortisol being produced to get us through stress responses. But there are benefits in the body. Like, you do need cortisol. Like, it helps set your circadian rhythm, tell you when it's morning, when you need energy, and when it's night to sleep. It regulates your metabolism if it's in the right balance. It helps with memory function, immune function, blood pressure regulation, and fluid balance in the body. So it is important to understand that we do need it. But it's when it's underproduced or overproduced for a long period of time, that's when we start to see some issues popping up, and energy is certainly one of them. And so I guess the first place to start is like the stress response. So how it's regulated is the brain tells your adrenals to produce cortisol when it's under stress, and then a message gets sent back to the brain to say, oh, we've got enough cortisol now. Let's reduce the amount that's being produced. So that's how it all happens when it's working beautifully. But when you can imagine that you're under stress chronically, like most days you're under some kind of stress, that then triggers a different part of the stress response, which is called the HPA axis, which is the brain telling those adrenals. And it's not just like the fight, flight, run away from the tiger, then it's all good again. It's ongoing. So it's like your brain's saying, well, we've got enough cortisol, let's slow down, but then we've got another stress again. So it's continual. And when that HPA axis which is the brain to the adrenals connection, when that's triggered, it takes about 30 minutes to kick in, and then it remains for longer. And basically in that time of being in the stress, so whether it's, work stress or nutritional stress or toxicity stress, there's lots of different types of stress that we, need to be aware of. Basically, your body kind of shuts off other functions that aren't essential. So if you can imagine like hair growth and skin recovery and reproduction and, just other hormone related things that your body does, it's shut off because that's not essential right now. It's not priority to get you through this survive this stress. That's how our body receives it, because it can't tell the difference between your body actually can't tell the difference between an actual stress. So actually running away from a tiger, or you worrying about the tiger being there, or maybe even being there. It's not like those people that are worrying before it's even happened. That's the same kind of stress on your body. Your brain picks it up the same as if there's actually a tiger there. So yeah, you can imagine like your brain's just constantly, especially in our day and age now, when we're expected to do a lot as a woman. We're trying to do the mum duties, we're trying to do the work duties, we're trying to do everything, and we're under a lot of stress. And so it's kind of we're stuck in that state for longer, and then these other essential functions are pushed aside. But what happens over time is, because there's more and more cortisol being produced because of that stress, the brain's saying, yeah, we need more cortisol, to get us through this stress. Your body keeps it in your bloodstream, the glucose in your bloodstream, for longer at a higher level, because it needs it for the brain. It's saying we need lots of glucose in our bloodstream because our brain needs it for survival. And higher levels of glucose in our bloodstream over time contribute to higher levels of insulin, which is the hormone that comes along and takes glucose into the cell. It produces more and more of that, and that leads to insulin resistance over time. And that may prick up a few ears. Insulin resistance drives other sex hormone imbalances like PCOS and that typical midsection weight gain. Like it all can come back to that stress originally. And so that stress then, that drives the insulin resistance. The insulin resistance drives testosterone and androgens in the body. For women, that can lead to hair thinning on their head. It can lead to facial hair growth. It can lead to that midsection weight, as I talked about. Like, it's just so connected. And that's why we need to get back to that stress, because we want to kind of break that cycle a little bit. But yeah, basically over time, your body says, hang on, this higher level of cortisol is not serving me. Let's start to reduce it. But at the same time, your cells, if the stress has been there for long enough and that cortisol's been there at a higher level long enough, your cells also become resistant to it. Now, that seems like it might be a good thing. But if you remember back to how I said cortisol is actually essential for our energy and is actually essential for these different areas in the body, it starts to impact those beneficial functions. So then you don't have enough. And so you're kind of feeling wired and anxious, but then you're also feeling really tired and your body is just so confused. So it can affect you both high and low levels of cortisol. So depending on how long it's been going on for. So, and then that leads to all sorts of symptoms in the body, from, like I said, fatigue, feeling more like fatigued even if you've had a good night's sleep, or maybe that you're anxious and overwhelmed through the day, maybe that midsection weight gain, it may be high blood pressure, it may be, trouble, your skin's not healing, or you've got acne, or there's so many different symptoms that can stem from that cortisol being imbalanced in the first place.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty complex, but also, like, if we break it down, it's just about, breaking that cycle, really identifying what those stresses are for you. And as I mentioned, it's not just psychological stress, which we generally think.
Hearing that.
Yeah, we think of it being, the stress of finances or work or relationships, but it can be from, nutritional stress. It can be from, like, not getting enough macronutrients that we need, like our body's not feeling safe because we're not feeding it enough. Generally with women, like, we've been through this craze of like keto and intermittent fasting, and sometimes that doesn't serve us. And then sometimes it's the other extreme where we're having, say, too many carbs, and that's also contributing to high glucose levels and insulin resistance. It could be like toxins from our environment. We're in our homes so much, and our homes generally are one of the most toxic areas. So, there's things to think about that we're exposed to most days that, what can we do to control that? Obviously there's some things that we can't control, but if we can really understand that, what the areas are to look at, then we can, do some really simple but effective things to help to break that cycle.
So going back to the whole chat about cortisol, what kind of was peaking in my mind when you were chatting, Kasey, is that how do we detect that we might have a higher level of cortisol in our body?
Yeah. So there's, like, for those that really want to get the testing done, it's important to know that through the blood, through your GP blood cortisol, it's really not very accurate. So I wouldn't even bother with that. If you do want to get a really accurate test of, so basically within the first 30 minutes of waking up, your cortisol should naturally peak within 30 minutes. And that's like naturally what happens to tell us it's morning, give us energy. So we need to capture what's happening in the morning firstly. It's called our cortisol awakening response. And so we can do that through saliva. And so it's a pretty, like rigid routine of testing every, I think it's like 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. But, you know, that captures that first, if we can do the first hour, that's even better. And then we know whether you're actually producing enough first thing or whether you're producing like way too much or like what's happening in the morning. But then over the day, we can either do urine, metabolites of cortisol, or we can do saliva as well over the day. And that kind of shows us what the pattern's doing, because naturally we want that peak in the morning and then we want to kind of taper off over the day. And then that's when melatonin kicks in to make us, you know, be feeling sleepy and ready to go to bed and have a nice restful sleep. So there's things that can impact the cortisol. There's things that can impact the melatonin. So we need to be aware of what's happening over the day and whether that's impacting your sleep and energy. So yes, there are testing that you can do. It is functional medicine testing, which generally means it's a little bit more expensive than just seeing your GP. But yeah, if you're really wanting to know what's happening, seeing a naturopath or nutritionist or integrative GP will allow you to do that test. Secondly, firstly, I recommend people just tune in with their body as much as they can. So, you know, in the lead up to the program that we're running soon, we've done a quiz. So I can even link that in the episode notes if you want to do that. So it's basically ticking off how many symptoms you've got that potentially link back to HPA axis dysfunction, which is another big word for saying cortisol imbalance. So it just means that, you know, your brain's constantly being triggered to produce more cortisol. So, you know, big ones are like I said, the energy that's erratic over the day, whether it's not enough in the morning when you're waking up, or whether it's like too much and feeling anxious and overwhelmed through the day, whether it's a tired and wired feeling, which is not very nice, whether it's, you know, even low moods and depression mixed in with, you know, fatigue, but also anxiety. Like it can be a combination. Reproductive issues, so particularly with periods that are being pushed out. So like I said, when you're in that stress state, your body is not going to prioritize reproduction. So it's for those women particularly that are noticing the, you know, cycles of ovulation is delayed, and so it's maybe every 6 weeks that you notice that you get your period instead of every 4. That is linked in with PCOS as well, which can be driven by the stress. So it's, you know, very interconnected. In general, our cycles as women are, you know, we're pretty resilient. So that is and more of an extreme case. But of course, if that's happening, then that can impact fertility as well. But, you know, even periods that are lighter or heavier or more painful, that can be linked back to this as well. And there's always that stress component that we need to be mindful of to holistically support hormone health. So, you know, even if it's endometriosis that's triggering those symptoms of painful period, we also need to consider cortisol in that picture too.
I find, sorry, just to jump in, I find it like when you list those symptoms, I could say like tick, tick, tick to most of them, which is it then like, and that's where I sometimes, you know, find it confusing just with all of this stuff, because it's like, what is it? Do you start with the cortisol piece and then go from there? Like, would that be usually your first port of call if you identify with majority of those symptoms?
I do like to come back to the cortisol, or even just saying de-stressing and identifying those stresses and doing what you can to, you know, overcome them. Like, even if you manage them, I'll say, not overcome. So identifying the stresses in the first place, I think, you know, you're not going to go wrong doing that, because there's always going to be a component of stress coming into the picture. So yeah, identifying, managing, but building resilience is the big thing, because we can't go and like leave our job and we can't go and, you know, do these extreme things. Of course, today's life is more stressful in general, but we can build resilience. Once we know what they are, then we can do some things to put in place to help our body feel safe. I think that's what it comes down to, like feed our body these signals that allows it to feel safe. So then we're not constantly like, that brain's not constantly picking up tiger, 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 because we're worrying about the tiger. We're instead giving it a different message, and we can do that through lots of different ways. But I think that's key, is allowing your body to feel safe. Yeah.
And so what are some of those things we can do? Is that what you're going to ask?
That was going to be my question. What are some of the ways?
Tell us what to do.
Just maybe some ones that you see often in the clinic, you know. From your personal experience.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned with the diet side of things, there's those two extremes. So I will talk on that because I think that's something that's kind of relevant at the moment. There's this fasting craze, which there's a difference between fasting overnight, like intermittent fasting and pushing out breakfast. So that's like, basically skipping breakfast. There's a difference between that and the water fast for 72 hours. They can be really beneficial. That's different. You're doing different things in the body, and that's not something you're going to be doing every week or every day. So that's aside. We're not talking about that. But the intermittent fasting, where you're skipping breakfast, often I see for women, this is not telling your body that you're safe. It's saying, don't know when we're going to be eating next, so we better hold on to that, that fat or those, calories for later, because we need to allow our bodies to say, yeah, there's plenty here. We're feeling safe. And of course, it's not just eating anything, it's eating the right things. And so in terms of macronutrients, there is some specifics around that, particularly protein. There's a big emphasis on starting the day with protein, but it's an important one. And when I put it that way, women are like, oh, of course. We just figured that if we weren't eating, then we were just kind of resting the body a bit longer. But it's for a woman, it's different to a man. Like they aren't complex like us. That's something that I say, well, let's maybe not do that so often. If you want to do it once a week and just see how you feel, that's fine. But yeah, that's something that I try to avoid. And if you do want to do the intermittent fasting, maybe try, instead of skipping breakfast, skip your dinner. And so then you're still eating within an hour of waking up.
I've got a personal question on this then.
Go ahead.
So this is me sharing a bit of my life. So being, a mum of 2 boys, I get up in the morning, my husband comes home from the gym and he'll make me a coffee. Now, it's not a black coffee. I have almond milk in my coffee. I opt not to have sugar because I feel I'm sweet enough. But that is pretty much my breakfast. And there's a certain ounce of shame in me admitting this right now. What would you suggest for me, I guess, which could be helpful for other listeners if you are the same as me?
I was going to say, well, my day's the same, except it's not almond milk, it's oat milk. And Hugh makes it for me, so my husband makes it for me as well. And then maybe I'll have some of Freddie's leftover banana.
Yeah.
If he doesn't eat that.
Okay. All right. There's a few things we need to unpack here. I'll get back to Steph's oat milk in a minute. Firstly, I would say, Chloe, is it because you're not hungry, or is it because you're just busy and that's what you can do in the morning?
I think for me, I don't find that the hunger strikes until a little bit later in the morning. My question though is that because I've had a coffee to start my day and so therefore it's kind of curbed some craving, like my hunger that could be there,
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. Some women feel hungrier after a coffee, but I think the main thing is that we need to, before the coffee gets in, just have something to tell your body that it's safe instead of just putting the caffeine in first. And so, while caffeine affects women differently, so some, you may have the genes that metabolize caffeine really well and you don't even notice after having a coffee, you feel completely fine. But I'd still say, let's just tell your body that you're safe. So even if you're not hungry, you could do like an amino acid supplement. Like that would be the last case scenario, I'd say, but I would prefer having something, even if it's a couple of mouthfuls of some form of protein, I'd say first. Before you have your coffee. And if you can separate it by about half an hour if possible, that's even better, because then you can talk about the impact coffee has on. Well, this is when we talk about waking, like changing the circadian rhythm to wake up earlier. Like there's so many things here.
Yeah.
And it's not an overnight fix. Like you're not just instantly going to feel hungry and want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but just like slowly, if you can get out of bed a little bit early, so you've got that little bit more time, so you can start to naturally over time feel hungrier sooner, that's going to serve you better. Yeah. But if you're not hungry, you reach for the amino acids.
Interesting. Isn't it?
So what's the amino acids?
So protein is made up of amino acids. So you can get a supplement, there's not many good ones on the market, but that can be like giving your body the building blocks to produce its own protein if you don't want to actually eat the food that's got the protein in it.
And what would be what are some foods that would have the amino acids in them?
Well, protein. So eggs.
Or any protein. Okay.
meat,
Sorry.
nuts,
I was thinking of
seeds,
particular protein.
But it's good to know what,
Yeah.
again, I think just for, so what kind of foods
What's
would that
protein?
be?
Yeah.
What is
No.
Yeah. No, well, this is good. This is good stuff. Okay. So, yeah, eggs, meats, chicken, fish. Obviously, not everyone's going to feel like that in the morning. You can go for protein powders, but as long as they serve you. So, I know there's a lot on the market that won't serve you, that have got other things added in there that are not so good. But if you are okay with dairy, like a pure whey protein, or you can go for like a fermented pea or rice protein powder, if that's a lighter option for you, if you can mix that through some water or nut milk or whatever it is.
Okay.
Hemp seeds, like there's lighter options of protein, but something that I do get women to work up to is a certain amount of protein in the morning. And you're not going to probably want to start up with 30 grams of protein probably in the morning if you haven't been having anything. But there's steps to build it up to that. But yes, that's a first step, I'd say, and pushing that coffee out a little bit. If you can. Do it a little bit.
And
away.
I like the idea of how you've just suggested, that wake time. Like for me, because it's so dark in the morning, I've been getting up at waking up at 6:45, which, I know next week will be different, So, but that's something I really love, kind of how you've spoken about. There's different things that you can change. Different factors. It doesn't all have to be just straight to the food.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's the other extreme, as I said, that, there's some women that are waking up and their breakfast is perhaps a piece of toast with honey or jam on it. Now that's, you're eating, but you're eating foods that are just going to pretty much go to raise those glucose levels in the bloodstream really quickly and release more insulin, which is going to contribute to that insulin resistance. And there's no protein there to allow your body to balance your blood sugars, balance your moods, balance your energy. Like, you do need the protein there in the morning. So that's kind of the other extreme, like people are eating but not eating the right things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, I love hearing this.
And Kasey, what about like high intensity workouts from a stress on the body perspective?
Yeah, they are okay, but it's more the longer, and I say this, I think Chloe's a runner. Are you a runner?
I've done.
Have that in my mind.
No.
Anyway, there's some women that are runners and it serves them. They're feeling fine. Everything's working properly. Good for them. That's great. But I know there's a lot of women that are doing a lot of exercise for a long period of time. So perhaps you're smashing it out the gym for 30 to 60 minutes, cardio. So on the treadmill, trying to do some running or, sprinting on and off for that period of time, that can stress out the body. That can raise the cortisol levels. So if you're already in this state of heightened stress, that's not really saying, we're safe. So there's definitely better forms of exercise. I'd say really focus on the nurturing, like walking is great, but the resistance exercise is the big one. So resistance, like Pilates reformer classes that Chloe goes to, like, they are amazing because they help you build your muscle, because you want to build your muscle because that increases your insulin sensitivity to help reverse insulin resistance. And so that's insulin resistance in itself is a stress on the brain. So it's like this vicious cycle. So if we can break that cycle by eating like the protein in the morning, allowing your body to feel safe, and then doing the right movement alongside to build your muscle. And this doesn't have to be every day. Like, you need rest days as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's 2-3 times a week, some resistance exercise. I'd say start there. And, from there, if you want to do some walking, that's great. I'd say ditch the cardio. If you're doing something for fun, like I'm playing netball at the moment, that's fun. That's cardio, but I really enjoy it. That's different. But, if you're smashing it out at the gym because you don't like your body, you're trying to lose weight, you're, trying to just improve your hormones, you're probably doing the absolute opposite thing.
Yeah. Gotcha. Because it's interesting, isn't it? They're the things you go, okay, I'll do intermittent fasting, I'll add some cardio.
Totally. I think that's just
where I
what
would
we
go
have
to.
learned as a society, that's what's going to help.
Yeah.
So it's re-educating ourselves, isn't it?
And circling back to breakfast, just briefly, what would be?
I want the oatmeal.
Oh, the oatmeal, yeah, because that's a glucose spike, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a few things with
Oh,
oat
dearie.
milk. So
Okay, let me get my pen and paper out.
I guess the first thing is knowing the brand and
Yeah.
if there are any industrial seed oils added in there. So the polyunsaturated fats. So this could be safflower oil, sunflower oil, generally in the
No,
nut milks.
I've picked a very clean one
Okay, excellent.
from our supermarket swap friend.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the first thing. Secondly is if you are gluten sensitive, oats, of course, are a source of gluten. So that could be another thing. And you know, it may be just that little bit that's you know, your guts, like maybe feeling a little bit bloated or a little bit puffy, or like there's these slight symptoms like, you know, maybe I should just go off it just to see if that contributes. But, you know, it could be a sensitivity for you, but if not, that's
Which
not
gluten is a bit of a sensitivity for me.
It is for a lot of people.
Yeah. So would you say almond is the best?
Yeah, if you can get out of the brands, if I'm allowed to say brands on here.
Yes.
The Pure Harvest unsweetened almond milk, if you're going to go for one off the shelf.
That's an Audi.
Yeah, Pure Harvest Cocoa Quench Almond Coconut, slightly sweeter, but it's not too sweet. The Pure Harvest Cocoa Quench Coconut is very sweet, but it's still better than all the other brands.
Okay. Well, I just got Hugh onto oat milk, so now we're going to have to
get him off it.
Yeah.
Well, he now prefers oat milk to dairy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I personally like the taste of almond milk better than dairy. Like that's why I have it. But the other thing with the oat milk is, yes, it does spike the glucose. But if you're going to go for things like rice milk, they will too. So just be mindful of that. But the almond milk is generally the one that's if you're going to go for a dairy-free option. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So that's something that like the industrial seed oil, so the safflower oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, like depending on what it's labeled as, cottonseed oil. These are out of the dietary stresses. These are a big one. Yeah, and they're hidden in so many packaged foods. So this contributes to inflammation in the gut, and so we want to just roll them out. And there's so many alternatives now, and just absolutely don't cook with any of those, but also be mindful that they could be snuck into things like your nut milk.
Foods. Okay. And then in terms of what we actually eat, like what would be your ideal? And I know that's a really hard question, but if we had to give everyone sort of a starting point, if they were to introduce breakfast, what would be a nice gateway breakfast?
Oh, if they digest eggs fine. Eggs are an amazing way to start the day. Eggs and a little bit of veggies on the side and a source of carbs. So don't forget the carbs. Don't say just protein. Like, you do need the carbs as well, because that's also a signal to say you're safe. There's plenty here, but it's the right types of carbs. So for me, I'll have like some leftover roast veggies alongside some eggs, a little bit of sauerkraut.
2 eggs? We reckon 2 eggs?
Yeah, push it up even more if you can. Yeah.
Really?
And the full egg, we're doing yolks.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely doing the yolks. Yes, the yolks. The yolk doesn't have the protein. Like the white of the egg has the protein, but the yolk has the nutrients. So when you're looking at a yolk and you notice those like real pale supermarket eggs that don't look great, they don't have as much vitamin A in them. So you'll notice if you get like the really good pastured eggs that you can get from supermarkets now, but also like markets, you'll notice they're much brighter and they've been scratching around in grass and they've got higher vitamin A.
Okay. All right. Because one thing that I was doing so I had really bad rosacea and was seeing my naturopath about that, and she said, you need to start having breakfast. And so I would do like 2 eggs with some of the frozen spinach, which I know is not, ideal, but it was actually very good little breakfast. And I just put it all in together, didn't even bother just beating the eggs first, just chucked it all in and with a bit of sauerkraut, and it was
yum. Yeah, but you maybe do need just a little bit of carbs just to say, if you're okay to have a little bit. Yeah, I think that's the other thing we've been.
Yeah, add the carbs,
Yeah, we've been our parents grew up in this era where fat was bad. We are now demonizing carbs, and I think that's kind of gone too far now. And we're starting to realize, hang on, we actually do need some carbs. We don't just want to go keto all the time for women particularly. So that's also something. And you'll need to play around with it. Everyone's different, but I do feel like you need a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay. And your ideal carb would be like maybe some leftover roast veg.
Yeah, leftover roast veg. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's this thing called resistant starch, which you can increase in potato if you actually cook it. And so say if you like boil some potato and then you keep it in the fridge overnight and then you have it the next day, it builds up resistant starch, and that decreases the glucose surge from it, and it goes down into the colon and it feeds your good bacteria. So that's even better, but that's another step again.
Yeah, but I suppose it's just that pre-planning, isn't it? You're making dinner, you've got potatoes for dinner.
You got leftovers, put it in the fridge.
Leftovers, yeah.
Then you can chuck it in with your eggs and mix it all together. Delicious.
I love this. Okay.
Yeah, definitely having the right, like the guidance obviously is definitely important. And then the planning is definitely like a big key as well. Yeah.
And I love how you're sharing, Kasey, that it's like, you know, little steps. It's not this expectation that you're going to go and overhaul your whole like kind of life, which we probably all need to. But doing that, it's, you know, it's hard to do that. And so these small, like little changes, I think.
We don't want to add more overwhelm. It's not about that. It's just awareness is first, and then taking the small steps that are actually going to make a difference. And that's why I've collaborated with Steph on a program, because that's literally what we're doing. We are taking people through the step-by-step process of how you can actually rebalance those cortisol levels. Yeah.
Brilliant. And we will link to that program in the show notes as well.
Well, do you want to tell, like, this might be a lovely little segue anyway. So your program is launching, I'm hoping I've got the date right, the 15th of April.
Well, it's opening doors. It's starting on the 15th. So we've opened last night to the public. So it's called Create Your Calm. So it's a 5-week online program and community. And we basically take you through the steps that you need to do to balance your cortisol levels once again and overcome those symptoms. And like I said, for you, it might be energy. For Steph, it might be skin issues. For someone else, it might be that midsection weight. Like, it's not going to be the same symptoms for everyone. But yes, it's helping you to come back to the stress response and help to deal with that. So then that allows that flow-on effect to all the other hormones and allows your body to feel safe. So then you can start to drop the puffiness or drop the weight or whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve. So they can go to the link in the thing, or glowingmama.com/create your calm.
Absolutely. We'll put all of these everything in the show notes, along with your podcast as well, which is absolutely amazing. And you've been going for such a long time. And we actually didn't give the little backstory about how I met Kasey just down on the beach with our kids vac swim, and just kind of I got a podcast. I do too. And then kind of dived into more chats. But it's a beautiful podcast that you've got, and so many amazing guests that you have on.
So many amazing guests.
I know.
Yeah, very impressive.
Yeah, so it's just recently changed to Back to the Paddock, just to be more in line with, us moving to the farm, but it was Glowing Mama, Thriving Bubba before. So if anyone is listening that's like preconception, pregnancy or babies, there's a lot, like past episodes go right back to the start. You'll see a lot on that. And now it's more like hormone health and other areas. Yeah.
I love that evolution that you've
it's following mine.
That's beautiful. I love that. Just quickly kind of going back, so we've chatted about cortisol. I'd just love to know a little bit, I know time is limited, but inflammation in the body. I think that we all probably have a lot of inflammation in the body. Like, are there any ways that we can, one, know that we do have inflammation, and then how can we eliminate or minimize that in our body?
Yeah, well, we have to once again understand that inflammation is a good thing initially, short term, like it's there to help. Like, you injure yourself, you get inflammation, that's actually the healing process. We don't want to dull it down straight away. So that's important to know, but it's when it's there day in, day out, it's chronic inflammation, that it's not serving us. So I guess the first place is, if you want to get a test done through the GP, you can, like, there's certain inflammation markers. They're all a little bit different and they don't specifically target where it is. But if your ESR or your CRP levels or your white cell counts are out, that can pinpoint inflammation in the body. But I guess once again, tune into your body and notice things like, do you wake up feeling puffy? Are you getting joint pain? Are you getting gut issues because that's gut inflammation? Are you feeling that brain fog? Like these are symptoms of inflammation in the different areas of the body. And we're all vulnerable in different areas. So it's not going to affect everyone the same, but they're just some sort of areas that it could be leading to issues for you. So the first thing is to understand whether it's there, and then like wherever it is, work out what the drivers are coming from. So if it is gut related, maybe a stool test to look at, whether there's overgrowth of bad bacteria or parasites or, something that's triggering it. Maybe there's food intolerances related to it. Like that's the type of thing seeing a naturopath can kind of dig a bit deeper into, or maybe it is the stress response that's triggering that, or maybe it is what you're eating first thing in the morning or not eating. Like, there's so many different areas it could be coming from. Yeah. But I think overall, like I said, if we're holistically supporting the body, we're looking at the stress, we're looking at what we're putting into our body, we're exercising mindfully, we're holistically supporting the body, and that's going to overall help that inflammation anyway. But it may come down to little swaps, like taking the oat milk out and swapping that with something else. Like, there'll be some things to do along the way that you'll fine tune. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love that.
Lovely.
Yes, but those industrial seed oils, that's the big one. That's number one. Take them out.
Yeah. Okay.
Get rid of.
Oh, so many things, but all very good things we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I was just going to go off script a little bit in terms of the impact that grief has on your hormones and body, because I feel like, so it's been 3 years since we lost Arthur. I feel like only now, so sometimes I think like, will my body ever recover from the cortisol imbalance? Because the tiger did come and get me, what is the broader impact?
Well, obviously it's going to, you would have been probably for the last 3 years in that state of fight flight. Like, that's understandable and, completely normal and expected. But what I would say now is feed your body those safe signals,
Yeah.
If you can do those things that you can work on, like the movement side of things and what you're feeding your body, fueling it with, then that's feeding it safe signals. And of course, there's lots of other therapies that I'm not qualified in that will help as well. But yeah, if you can tell your body you're safe.
I love that coming back to the safety piece.
Me too.
That really resonates.
Yeah. And Kasey, what do you do? Like, we are called The Selfish Podcast. We're all about how we put ourselves first and how we, make sure that we are filling up our own cup and telling our body it's safe, or whatever those different things that we need to do are. So how do you, incorporate that into your life?
I guess the most consistent thing for me that I do is I see the sun in the morning. I use the sun to my advantage. So I think another big stress we didn't really touch on much today, but is the circadian rhythm stress. And that's the one of like, these days we're inside on screens during the day and at night, and we're not seeing the sun when we need to see the sun. And so even if it's just like 5 minutes, that's the first thing that I'll do. I'll go out, open the door, even if I'm looking out the window that's through the fly screen, like I'll get that sun in my eyes. That tells your body it's morning, you need energy, you need to raise your natural cortisol within that time, and that sets you up for the day. And doing that actually helps your melatonin production at night too. So I'd say out of all the things, that's one that I'm very consistent and I wouldn't say strict, but I love doing it. Like, I know it serves me.
I mean, we're in Australia moving into autumn and winter. So is that still like, if it's an overcast day, is it still just getting out there, getting the light? Yeah.
Yeah, your body still knows that it's morning when it's cloudy, like the light is there. And the same thing with sunglasses through the day. I won't get into too many things to stop doing, but like if you're wearing sunglasses, that can kind of trick your body into thinking you're inside. So take them off, particularly in the morning. Like let your body know that it's like, because we'll wake up, have breakfast inside, go to the car, drive to work with our sunglasses on. You haven't seen the sun yet. Like, your body doesn't know that it's under artificial lights. It's going to stress out your body in different ways, producing cortisol, but not that natural awakening response that we need.
Kasey, I have to say, since meeting you and listening to your podcast and on your Instagram, I actually don't put my sunglasses on very much anymore. It's actually really impacted me.
Well,
Yeah.
I need to do this because I've got prescription sunglasses, which I thought I was being clever, you know, because I do need the glasses to see.
Okay.
And I was thinking I'd wear prescription, so I wear them a lot. Even in the supermarket, I wear them sometimes.
Yeah, you do wear them a lot.
Yeah, because I can't see.
Well, inside's not so bad because you're it's kind of blocking out the artificial light. But it's when you're outside, if you are sitting and you can see enough to
I can
function,
still see. Like
sitting down.
I can still see. I just but I can just wear my other glasses when I'm driving. I don't need to have my sunnies on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, there's times when you're like, it's dangerous and you need sunnies on because you're driving and you're squinting. Absolutely. But even if it's just starting with the morning, like keep the sunnies off in the morning to let your body know it's morning.
I love that.
My circadian rhythm's fucked with a capital F just because of my work at the moment. Like, I've got calls at 6 a.m, I've got calls at midnight. Like, it's very tricky to then, and I have to be on. I've been doing some of the calls actually on my phone, so I'm not on camera and I don't have lights and screens and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's challenging.
Well, what you could do is, because it's not light yet when you're up, like I get up when it's dark at the moment, but I'll put on, like, I've got a little lamp that's red or orange light.
Oh,
so I use that.
They're so good.
They're good. And then I put on my blue blocking glasses until the sun comes up, and then I'll run outside and see the sun, tell my body it's morning. And then if I have to do a bit more work, I'll still have my glasses on until it's like, midday and mid-morning, and then I'll take them off. But, there's little things like that you can do.
And then ideally I'd have my glasses on at night.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I need some of these glasses.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, they're great.
What are they called? Blue blocking glasses.
Yeah, there's a few gimmicks out there, so you got to get the right ones. I'll send through the link to where I've got the block blue light is these ones, and the glasses they've got. They've also got, I don't know if you noticed, but my lights are orange.
Yeah.
So they've got the little globes that have day, night, and day, afternoon, and night. So it goes really orange nighttime. It's like reddish. So you don't feel guilty for having the lights on because you know that it's supporting
I'll
you.
do that. Yeah, I'll do that for the office space.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because I hate having lights on at night. Like, I'm so sensitive to them.
Yeah, so you can do that. I have the lights off anyway, but if I'm working at night, I'll just turn the lights off and then just have my computer screen's got a bit of a night shift thing on it, but that will have the blue blockers on. So you've got to do work sometimes, and that's just right. Things you can do. Yeah, I'll flick through that link.
Thank you.
Blue light. Yeah.
And are there any rituals that you do to keep yourself
well, aside from that, I like to fuel my body well. So starting with that breakfast in the morning that's got enough adequate protein, and then like going out barefoot on the grass, that's a big one for me. So if I feel a bit frazzled, like that's my break it up, let's go outside. I'll feel completely different once I'm out there.
Oh, beautiful.
I love that. And it's so easy, and it's...
I was going to say simple things. Yeah, free and just, being more connected to ourselves and to our environment.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, how we're designed to be outside, feet on the earth.
Beautiful. Oh, my goodness. So many little pearls of wisdom, I think, in our chat today. And... I'm excited to kind of dive in a bit more and kind of learn. Well, looking at this program and 5 weeks of creating your calm. I think that sounds so beautiful. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And
and where can people find you, Kasey? I know you mentioned we'll have all the links in the show notes, but if you could just tell people your tags.
Yes, on Instagram, I knew what you meant. Instagram at Kasey Willson .naturopath. That's a Kasey with a K and double L in Wilson. And that's where I'm mostly. And glowingmama.com. So it's mama with a double M, A. And glowingmama.com/create your calm. If you're interested in the program, the doors do shut on the Sunday, the 14th of April. So just so you know, that's when we're not accepting anymore, but we've had some beautiful women join us already. So we're really excited to take them through that.
And so kick-off for the program is the 15th.
Monday the 15th, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, no, everyone's still got a bit of time to get in there.
Exactly.
Before, doors close. Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, Kasey.
Thank you so much, Kasey.
We will see you soon.
Thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Selfish Podcast with Chloe and Steph. We are always so thrilled for you to be here and sharing your time with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if you want more of the Selfish Podcast, if you want to find out a little bit more about what we're doing in our day-to-day lives, we also share lots of stories and on our Instagram, which is at the.selfishpodcast. And if you want to support the pod, if you feel that you get a lot of enjoyment out of listening to us, then you can show your support by joining our inner circle on Patreon. So the links are below. And we really, thanks again for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Love to you all.
Bye.